The last video we had in here was with pieces of FM104 in our restoration hangar, and they were being worked on by a fairly large crew of people. And this was almost a year ago now, and then the COVID-19 hit, and it really put a crimp in our activities in the restoration hangar. We pretty much had to shut down for several months and did some work over the summer, and then ended up shutting down again in November because things were getting worse, and we weren't able to keep doors open and get lots of fresh air and work outdoors. So we closed it down, and we're now just starting to reopen again. I think that over the past year there have been a number of things that have happened that have affected what we are doing here. We had 4 of our members who have passed away from illnesses other than COVID-19, so we haven't been hit with that, but it certainly has hurt our workforce. And while we celebrate all our little victories we have when we put this aircraft together and as we work on it, we really haven't been able to mourn the loss of or celebrate the lives of those who have passed on. And that is something that has certainly not been an easy task to deal with through COVID-19. Hopefully, as things get more opened up this summer, we'll be able to do a bit of a get-together and celebrate the lives of these people who put a lot into this museum and a lot into the work that's going on FM104. Over the past month or so, we have rearranged our objects in our hangar here so that we have more space to work on things, and it's allowed us to open it up and have a little more room to work around, and also will allow for better viewing by the public of the activities that are carrying on. We have started work again on the cockpit section of the aircraft, and working towards getting the canopy on it and some of the interior finished, and we're now working on getting landing gear attached under the center section so that we can put the 2 main landing gear and the wheels in there and have it for a better display coming up as the summer goes on. Beside me here, the main castings for the landing gear, those have been damaged over a period of time, and they have pieces broken and they have cracks in them. So if this aircraft were to fly, they would have to be remanufactured in order to allow the aircraft to fly to support the weight and the impact of landing the aircraft. Camosun College has been working with us on this project, and they are extremely helpful and have been designing and making scale models of these pieces, these castings, so that they can be remanufactured. If they get remanufactured, it's unlikely that they will be done as a casting, but more likely will be machined out of a block of aluminum, and each one would be made to the specifications it needs. And for making 4 pieces, that's an efficient way to do it rather than trying to set up a casting mold and do it that way. However, at the present time, we're not going to get them remanufactured. It's felt that the pieces now are strong enough to hold the aircraft sitting on its wheels. Even if it had the engines on, it would be plenty strong enough to hold that. And if we get to the point where we're going to be running the engines and moving the aircraft, taxiing, then we would need to consider remanufacturing them. But at the present time, we're working to get the landing gear on and the wheels underneath it so that we can set it up as a display. I'm standing beside one of the wheels that's part of the main landing gear of a Lancaster. This wheel is for FM104 and is sitting currently on a stand here. It slides in underneath in this area, and there's one on each side. And unlike more modern aircraft that have multiple wheels on the main landing gear, the Lancaster only had 3 wheels, 2 main wheels and 1 tail wheel, and that was it. So it's a very large and skookum wheel that goes in there. And our intent is to be able to slide these in this summer and be able to lower the landing gear so that it looks like it's sitting on its wheels on the ground.
Yep. So this is the pilot seat from the Lancaster. We started working on it about 5 months ago, and it started off with no primer on it. It was corroded, oxidized aluminum, held together with pop rivets. So the first thing we had to do was take it all apart, clean it up. We put the zinc chromate primer on, and then start reassembling it with these clecos so we could make sure everything fit and worked properly. Once we've got everything in place, we take it apart again and then paint it the final color. Then put it back together with the clecos and put real rivets in. So when we put it together, we use these things called clecos, and they go through the rivet holes. You put it in like so. That holds it in place. So the back view of the seat, you can see all the structure that gives it its strength for the air crew, the pilot. Lots of tabs and stuff to go into it, and what happens in here, there's actually a seatbelt retractor which will go in eventually once we've got it refabricated, because it was pretty much destroyed when we received it.
So this morning I'm going to show what we've gone through in various documents that we found and research, some of the electrical interconnections and some of the pieces that we just don't have but are in other Lancasters, and we can get dimensions from that if we don't have a drawing. So I'm just going to show the process we went through to create or recreate one of the electrical junction boxes. So this is a general location drawing showing some of the electrical boxes and the cabling with numbers that identify them in between the boxes. That's the basic layout of the aircraft, is junction boxes and cables in between, so they can be easily all assembled in the factory and also replaced later on in service. So this one here, JB13, is where we started. The instrument panel connects primarily to JB13 and then passes through other boxes to different things. This is an overall view of the different junction boxes. Here's the 13, which we're focusing on right now. This is some of the schematics which go on, and they will identify different junction boxes and the cables in between. This here in yellow highlighted is JB13, which is what we're looking at. So it shows a cable going in, the pin out, and the cable coming out to some other place with its identification. And in another document, we actually find a representation of that junction box. No dimensions, but it shows the interconnection from one connector over to another connector. Now then, in another document, we have a bill of materials and an isometric sketch. Between those and the bill of material, which identifies the connectors and the terminal strips inside, we can then build a 3D model on the computer, and then we flatten that sheet metal, and that gives us something like this, which we get pre-cut, and the next step will be to bend this up on the brake. So in between junction boxes there are cables out. This JB13 is what we're working on now, because it comes from the instrument panel and passes through there and goes to other boxes as it connects to the engines and the wingtips, etc. So, and this is, you're going to watch JB13, and these are where the cables come in, and they pass through JB13, and then they pass out, and again JB13 and JB13. I want to just catch that. Okay. There we are, we're getting there. So now we've done both sides. We have another smaller brake down here to do the ends, which we have to bend in between the sides, we'll use this other brake, which goes like so. And the box sides will fit in between those gaps. So we've had this box welded up on the seams, which matches the original. There will be a top cover that we'll make and quick connect fasteners that hold the top cover on. Where this box will mount is right here in the fuselage. We'll remake those mount brackets. Some of these cables connect to the bombardier position, some connect up to the instrument panel, and then these go back to the main electrical panel. And next step is connectors and terminal strips and all the wiring within this box. So this is the front section of the fuselage. The nose goes there, the pilot sits up there, the canopy covers that, wing is back there. This is the section we're concentrating on right now, which has all the flight controls, much of the electrical. Now what I've done here, so this is a 3D model that I've built, which allows me to position things and know that they will fit within the real structure. These formers and the spacing is all done by drawings if we have them, and by actual verification on measuring FM104. So what I've been doing here is looking, there's JB13, that junction box we're making. These are metal covers over cables. This is the main electrical panel. This is me take the fuselage away. This is a heating duct that they have, main electrical, JB13 covers. So when I'm looking at this sort of area of the fuselage that I've been working on, this is a wooden cable tray, and looking for pieces of what we would have had, and most likely very decayed, but we have to recreate that piece. Here's a drawing in one of the documents that we have. It shows the small brackets that attach. Here's the wooden tray that I can see in here. It's not dimensioned or anything, the drawing, but I hope to be able to verify with other Lancasters what these dimensions are. And I know that these points are fixed in the 3D model. So that's the 3D model that I've built. Next step is to look for pieces that kind of match that. So here are the pieces, as many as we have found in the containers of various parts that we received with FM104. I think this matches to here. I'm going to match up the nails which are still in that strip to the nail holes just to verify. I don't know where this piece goes yet, but I suspect it might fit in there somewhere. I'll try the same idea there, and then I'll try to clamp all these together and fit them into the fuselage and see if we find some original mount points. These are the two pieces that I think may fit together. And I can see that the nails in the strip are lining up to the holes in the plywood backing. So I'm going to clamp that together. And then this piece as well, I'll try to, all that looks like that lines up like that. So that would, oh, and there I can see this matches right here. So this mystery piece that I had just found last week, I think it fits right in there. And there I see an edge that matches. So one more piece of the puzzle goes in, and I'll clamp that in. So we think we verified that those pieces they match each other, and they match a mount point up there, this point down here, and I can see the little mount tabs that would have held that front corner. Probably another mount tab down here. This would be where the engineer's panel goes. JB13 there, cables run through here, and there's a cover that goes on. Main electrical panel goes up there. So the next step is to take that model and create a final drawing with dimensions and then reproduce this wooden part. So this green piece is the long heating duct that we had positioned in the fuselage. It ends with the green here. The orange and the red per this drawing, those are missing. That's an elbow that connects up to a hole in the fuselage, which is where the heat comes from the number 3 engine. So this piece we do have. We had to straighten this up a little bit. This had been cut off when they put it on the pylon in Toronto. So we'll extend this, we'll add the elbow, which will then get a supply of either fresh air or heated air from the front point on the front spar. The number 3 engine feeds a heater core that's located about 2 feet outside the fuselage here. And that's why the pilots and the whole crew didn't like to lose the number 3 engine, because that's where their heat came from. That gets welded onto there. And this is the duct. And that will match up to that hole. So then we'll make this into sheet metal.
This is the starboard landing gear on the Lancaster center section. The forward bit is attached to a casting on the forward spar that also holds the engine mount. The back of the landing gear leg bolts onto the aft spar here. Right now it's in its folded condition, and we're working towards putting it on its wheels with all the landing gears extended. So the landing gear leg is as it came to Victoria. It is in a state of requiring inspection, but right now we're putting it into a condition where it'll be just on its wheels so we can move the Lancaster around the center section and the aft section. But to get this landing gear back on its legs, we have to find some brackets and bits and pieces to bolt it all in. This is one of many brackets that attaches the aft part of the landing gear legs to the rear spar. One of many brackets that we're hunting down right now, or we're going to have to build temporarily to get this landing gear in the up configuration. Okay, this is the support that holds the landing gear when it's in its extended position. This leg, this portion here will be vertical, and this is the support for the main leg of the landing gear. The aft end of the landing gear will be bolted to the rear spar, and the front portion is bolted in here, plus one of the inboard engines is bolted here as well. So this is a massive piece of structure right here supporting landing gear and engine both. So these 2 actuators are for the starboard gear. Each leg has 2 actuators which operate the landing gear. So the 2 actuators from the port side of the aircraft, the actuators were chopped up over in Toronto. Nobody knows why, but here they are. And what we have to do is find 2 more actuators to replace the ones that are damaged beyond repair. So our center section is being built up to get the wheels on it so we can move it around. And right now we're at a crossroads where we need all the parts we can get to make the landing gears extended. Attach the aft fuselage so we can get all 3 gears down and locked so we can move the bird around. But we have to inventory all the parts in our containers we have here, as well as we'll have to do a road trip back to Toronto for some more parts that we hope will show up to finish off this job.